I was looking at the app I like to use to find free stuff when I saw an unbelievable ad. The poster was giving away not just a lawnmower, but also 2 Echo string trimmers, and this is one of them. In essence, they were practically giving away every piece of lawn equipment they owned, but there wasn't a moving truck in sight. So why would anyone give away all their equipment then? Well, I guess we better try and find out. So in today's video, we're going to be looking at this Echo string trimmer. And the problem is that it might have been given away, but they didn't say anything about its condition. However, if you don't use your 2-stroke equipment for a long time, it can develop running or even starting problems. And there's simply no way to tell just how long this machine was in storage and unused. So the first thing I'm going to do is look it over for any signs of damage or any concerns. But besides being very dirty, for the most part, I don't see anything too concerning about it. Now I did notice that there was some fuel in the tank, so we better pour it out and see what it looks like. And what we find is a bit concerning, because this is supposed to be a mixture of 2-stroke oil and gasoline. But it looks awfully light on oil, which is something you never want to see. Now I do believe there is some oil in it, just not enough. Because if there's not enough oil, the engine will not receive enough lubrication and will cause it to wear out faster than it should. I also believe someone's worked on this machine before because the end for the throttle cable was not fully seated in its post. There's nothing wrong with previous work, but we will need to look out for other possible oversights they might have made. So it's at this point that I think it's time to prime the engine with some fuel and see what happens. So I'm happy that it started, but why did it run for so long? I was just expecting it to run for a couple of seconds, not 10 seconds. So the only thing that I could think of is that there was still fuel in the fuel line and carb, which kept it running for as long as it did. And if that's the case, it could mean this carb is still in working condition, meaning the string trimmer might be in working condition as well. So does that mean the poster gave away a working machine? Well, it sure looks like it. Of course, there are no guidelines on what you can and cannot give away, but it's interesting that someone would do that. So have I ever given away a working machine before? Yes, I have, but mainly out of charity. But those items that I left on the curb as a freebie were typically broken or needed repairs. So what are we going to do with this project then? Well, before we go too far on it, I'm going to give it a quick spray and rinse. And once it dries up, I plan on putting fuel into the tank and trying to start it, hoping that it will start and run. And if it does do that, we'll then start looking at some maintenance items that's quite often overlooked. Now you don't have to clean your string trimmer like this very often, but I would recommend it at least once a year. That way, it'll be easier to spot possible problems with your machine before it gets much worse. Next, we're going to pour our fuel into the tank and then check to see if the purge bulb is working like it should be. The main purpose of the bulb is to pull fuel from the tank to the carb while purging the air from the fuel system. You can see that it is working because the fuel is returning back to the fuel tank. Now that we know the fuel system has no air and is full of fuel, let's try and start it. So besides a very slight increase in the idle speed, probably because of the throttle cable, it's now working like it should be. So it turns out this machine is working extremely well. So why give it away? Was it out of charity? There's no way to tell, but I will gladly take it. Next, we'll do some maintenance work to it, that way it'll be ready for the next several seasons. One item that needs to be inspected as part of maintenance is checking the spark arrestor screen sitting at the outlet for the muffler. If the screen is clogged up with excess carbon, it will block airflow out of the engine, leading to less power. So a periodic inspection of the screen is needed, but the time interval between the inspections is up to you. And with the exhaust guide out of the way, you can now see the screen, but surprisingly, it looks to be clear. But if yours is covered in carbon and you can't see through parts of it, then try cleaning it. So did someone clean this one? Well, possibly. However, if you use your trimmer at full speed, you can burn off any carbon that might have collected on it. It's also a good idea to take the muffler off the engine and inspect the exhaust port itself for any carbon buildup. Fortunately for us, I don't see any kind of buildup in the port, which is great news. It's kind of hard to believe it, but this trimmer is in excellent condition, and from looking at the piston, the engine is healthy as well. We'll just put the muffler back onto the engine, and also don't forget to install the spark arrestor screen too. Its job is to keep sparks from leaving the muffler and possibly starting a grass fire. While we're here, we'll also take out the old fuel return line and replace it with a new one. The old one is starting to show its age, however we could have just left it alone too. Now fuel lines don't last forever, however the rubber ones seem to be very robust, but you can't see through them either. Next we'll disconnect the filter line and then purge all the remaining fuel from the carb, that way we can replace the purge bulb. Doing it this way will just keep from making a huge mess, but you can choose to do it however you want to. Now obviously this bulb is not broken and working just fine, however once they start looking like this, you never know when they're going to break. New purge bulbs are about $5 or so depending upon where you get them, but if you buy more than one, you'll get a better deal. But if you decide to buy a huge bulk bag of bulbs, they can quite literally be a dime a piece. Of course, not too many consumers are going to buy 100 at a time, but if you do, I would just sell off what you don't need. Now once the bracket's been tightened back down, check and make sure that the bulb still works, otherwise you'll find out when you try and start it. Now if your bulb is not filling with fuel, you might have a bad fuel filter or the carb might need to be serviced with new diaphragms. And finally, we can replace the top cover for the engine. Just make sure you don't mix up these two fasteners though. Also, don't forget to put these wires in this groove, otherwise the cover might pinch them against the metal on the engine, which could cause the engine not to start. Fortunately for us, it still starts and runs just like it should, but now it looks a whole lot better. This sticker on the shaft is going to need some attention, but it's not the end of the world. Speaking of shaft, believe it or not, the fact that this is a curved shaft is going to hamper its sale. Most consumers are not as interested in these as much as these straight shafts, so we might have to do a conversion on it. Now technically, that would turn this GT model into an SRM model, but I don't think the buyer is going to complain too much. It's a real shame. Besides the differences in reach and angle for the user, this curved shaft is just as capable as the other version, but everyone has their likes and dislikes. So my question is pretty simple. Which one do you prefer, a straight shaft or a curved shaft? Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate your time here. Please feel free to ask me any questions about this project or about your own projects, and I hope to see you in the next video.